That day, I was supposed to go with Michael to register our marriage, but he suddenly brought something up. He asked me to put my name down as the legal mother of the child his unmarried younger sister Lily had just given birth to. Lily wasn't married, but already had a baby, which would affect the family's reputation, so he wanted me to register the child under my name and treat it as our own. I refused outright. Michael's face darkened, and in a cold voice, he threw out a single sentence. When I agreed to sign, that would be when we registered the marriage. After saying that, he turned around and walked away, leaving me standing alone in front of the Civil Affairs office. This was already the 9th time our marriage had been postponed because of his younger sister. Did he really think I would keep enduring it and waiting like before? I lowered my head and saw the latest post on Ethan's social media page, the man I loved the most. It said he was about to register a marriage with someone else. My heart ached so badly that I sent him a message. Do you want to get married? I'm at the Civil Affairs office right now. Just 15 minutes later, Ethan drove over at top speed, as if flying. We can really register? With you? His eyes were filled with undisguised joy, mixed with confusion, as if he couldn't believe his ears. Enough talking. Did you bring your ID? I asked. Ethan rummaged through his wallet and muttered that he had walked away from an $800 million contract signing just to rush over. You're not even letting me ask one more question? But when he held the marriage certificate in his hands, he stared at it for a long time, as though he still couldn't believe it. Did I really marry you? Yes, I'm really your wife now. After we finished signing, he said apologetically that he had to return to the company and told me to take a cab home by myself. I stood by the roadside waiting for a car when a black sedan stopped in front of me. The one who got out was Michael, and Lily was sitting in the passenger seat. Emily Shen, get in, he said. I tightened my grip on the bag holding the marriage certificate, then opened the door and got into the car. This is for you. He handed me a small box, and inside was a silk scarf. Michael had always been like this. Whenever he made me angry, he would give me a small gift to smooth things over. We both tacitly understood that as long as there was a gift, anything could be written off. Lily didn't say a word, only quietly stroking her handbag. When she glanced at the silk scarf in the box, the corner of her lips curled slightly. So it turned out it was just a promotional freebie that came with that bag. Just like every other time, I pretended not to notice and set the gift box aside. Lily's lips lifted into a faint, mocking smile. Where are we going? I asked. Michael softened his tone and glanced at his sister. To pick up the congratulatory gift, then back to Grandpa's place. Only then did I suddenly remember that today was Grandpa's 80th birthday banquet. We had already discussed going to congratulate him. Since we were going anyway, it would also be a chance to see him one last time. Through the rearview mirror, Michael secretly observed my expression. It was rare for him to take the initiative to explain. Emily, don't think too much. My sister isn't married and got pregnant. People will talk. If the child is registered under our household, it'll be easier for her to settle down and get married in the future. I replied calmly. That's true. Being unmarried and pregnant is already enough for people to gossip. Without even a boyfriend, they'll only say she's promiscuous. Registering the child under your household would probably be much better. Lily's face turned pale with anger when she heard that, and she spun around, glaring furiously. Michael hurried to step in. I mean under my and yours, he corrected himself, then turned to look at me, his eyes carrying a hint of expectation. I laughed, my voice cold as ice. What if I don't agree? His face immediately darkened. If you don't agree, then we break up. I nodded. Fine. He let out a soft sigh of relief, his expression visibly easing, as if he had completely misunderstood something. Because the fine I said meant agreeing to break up, he instead thought I had agreed to that proposal of his. He even broke into a crooked smile and joked as if teasing me. See, Emily, if you'd learned to be obedient a little earlier, we'd already have the marriage certificate by now. I didn't respond, only turned my face to look out the car window. The scenery outside kept flashing past non-stop, just like the 3 years of feelings between him and me, slowly drifting away from me at the same speed. His adoptive younger sister was the same age as Michael. She was the child his grandfather had once taken in. But from the day I met her until now, she had always been a thorn stuck between Michael and me. Going on dates, he brought her along. Eating out, she sat right beside him. Even in the house Michael and I lived in together, there was a room set aside specifically for his adoptive sister. I had expressed my discomfort more than once, but Michael always used the same sentence as a shield. "She's my sister. What are you even suspecting?" He had grown up with his adoptive sister, and their bond was as close as blood siblings. Every time he said that, I could only swallow all my discomfort and force myself to endure it. But that so-called sister had never known how to keep her distance. In front of me, she always deliberately acted overly close to him. When they got out of the car to pick up the gifts, she even deliberately looped her arm through his, intimate like lovers. From behind, no one would ever think they were siblings. And me? I could only sit quietly in the car, no different from an unrelated outsider. Over the past 3 years, most of the time I had been like this, always the extra person in the relationship between the two of them. I once thought that after spending 2 years pursuing him, how could I possibly be willing to let go so easily? Michael understood that, which was why he dared, time and again, to abandon me, even when we had already reached the doors of the civil affairs office. While I was drifting through those memories, my phone rang. It was Ethan calling. "Wife, I finished signing the contract, but I still have to entertain clients tonight, so I'll be home late. Remember to eat properly. I'll call you again when I'm done." I watched the phone screen light up and then go dark, only then snapping out of the chaotic thoughts. I was someone else's wife now. Everything had happened too fast, too suddenly, so fast that I hadn't even had time to get used to the change. But the moment I heard Ethan's voice, my heart felt inexplicably light. "Who were you calling?" Michael opened the car door just as I hung up. He looked at me suspiciously. "A friend," I replied casually. I didn't know why. I just didn't want him to know that I had already registered a marriage. At that moment, Lily also got back into the car, carrying the fruit gift and placing it on the back seat. She shivered and complained that it was cold. Before she could even pull down her sleeve, Michael had already reached out and taken her hand, enclosing it fully in his palm. "Let me warm it for you." That action felt like a slap across my face, as if my existence in that car had never existed at all. In that instant, I felt grateful instead, grateful that he had abandoned me at the civil affairs office that day. If I had really married him, could I have endured the ambiguity between the two of them for the rest of my life? I gently shook my head. "Michael, it was so cold outside just now. Is the baby okay?" Lily suddenly spoke in a soft voice, laden with hidden meaning. The moment he heard that, Michael immediately became tense. He hurriedly took off the Bodhi bead bracelet from his own wrist and put it straight onto Lily's wrist. In the rearview mirror, Lily looked at me, the corners of her lips curving up into an undisguised, triumphant smile. But that bracelet, I had climbed all 999 stone steps up the mountain during my period, gone to the temple at the summit to pray for Michael's safety, and on the way back down, I had even run into a torrential rainstorm and nearly been swept away by the floodwaters. 2 years ago, when I gave him that bracelet, he had been so moved that he cried. He said he would wear it for the rest of his life and never take it off. Yet in just 2 short years, he could casually give it to someone else. The memories streaked through my mind like a shooting star. I forced myself to hold back the tears welling up at the corners of my eyes, then reached out, grabbed Lily's wrist, yanked the bracelet off hard, and hurled it straight out the car window. A flash of anger crossed Lily's face, but it quickly turned into a look of grievance. With tears in her eyes, she said, "Michael, is Emily angry now? Is it because you gave me the bracelet? But even if she's angry, she shouldn't have thrown it away. After all, it was something you cherished so much." She sounded as if she were accusing me of not valuing him at all. Michael's expression immediately darkened. "Emily, have you lost your mind? It's just a cheap bracelet. What's it even worth? What's wrong with me giving it to my sister? If you're going to be this selfish, I can't marry you." I looked at him, my voice icy. "Then don't marry me. It's not that big of a deal." Hearing that only made him angrier. Clearly, in this situation, the person with the greatest right to be angry should have been me. Yet he pressed his lips together, slammed on the gas, and sped off like a madman, blowing through 2 intersections while the red lights were still on. When we arrived at the Lamb family home, Lily was immediately summoned into the study by Grandpa. "Who did you get pregnant by? If you can't get engaged, then get rid of that child immediately. No daughter of the Lamb family is allowed to have a child before marriage." Even from down the hallway, I could clearly hear the old man's furious shouting, along with Lily's sickly kitten-like sobbing. Michael looked as if he were sitting on hot coals. He grabbed my hand, his expression grave, and launched into the familiar round of persuasion. "Emily, you saw it yourself. Look how much my sister is suffering. Go talk to Grandpa. Tell him you had someone carry the pregnancy for you, that you're afraid of pain, so you had a baby now and won't need to give birth in the future." I immediately flung his hand away. "Are you insane? For your sister's sake, you want me to admit that I can't have children? Is the baby yours or something?" Michael's face instantly darkened. "Emily," he shouted, his voice heavy as stone. "What nonsense are you talking about? How could I ever do something like that? You agreed just now in the car, didn't you?" I curled my lips into a cold, mocking smile. "Everything you've done, you couldn't finish listing it, even if you talked all day." His hand suddenly tightened around my wrist, each word ground out between his teeth. "If you still want to be my wife, you'd better accept this child and stop interfering in matters between my sister and me. Think it over carefully." With that, he shoved me aside and turned to walk away, leaving me standing alone in the grand hall filled with fake congratulations and hollow laughter. At the end of the banquet, I planned to go say goodbye to Grandpa and then leave. Just as I turned into a section of the hallway, I was suddenly dragged hard onto the balcony. Standing there was Lily, her eyes red-rimmed, one hand clutching her belly like a clumsy actress about to go on stage. Michael gripped my hand tightly, his voice as cold as an early winter wind. "Emily, today, you have to give me a clear answer. Are you going to put this child under your name or not?" I struggled to pull my hand free, but the more I struggled, the tighter his grip became. I sneered. "You're this anxious over the baby, then it must be yours." The moment the words left my mouth, I caught a flash of panic in Lily's eyes. It was only for an instant, but it was enough to confirm that I had guessed right. Michael tightened his grip even more, pain shooting through my wrist as if it were about to break. "You're still doubting me?" His face hardened. "I've really spoiled you too much." He raised his other hand and pinched my chin hard, his voice cold and metallic. "Today Grandpa scolded Lily. Seeing her lose face like that must have made you feel pretty satisfied, huh? If I had known earlier that you were this vicious a woman, I would never have agreed to love you." He had said that line countless times before, every time we argued. It was always the final blow that left me speechless, and every single time, I was the one who gave in, the one who apologized, the one who reached out first. I used to make all kinds of promises in exchange for his reluctant nod, but this time I didn't do that anymore. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing myself to stay calm, my voice steady and resolute while I still could. "Let's break up." He froze. His eyes, filled with suspicion, stared straight at me, and the hand that had been gripping my wrist immediately loosened. "Emily, are you serious?" he asked. Before I could answer, he continued on his own. "You know my temper very well. If I'm the one who says it's over, I'll never turn back. Don't casually say the word break up in front of me." With that, he turned and walked away. I also turned my back and strode off the rooftop. This place, the Lamb family, had nothing to do with me anymore starting today. I had barely taken one step when Lily suddenly shoved me hard from behind. By instinct, I grabbed her arm, and the two of us tumbled down the steps together. She landed on top of me, my spine slamming violently against the cold stone floor, the pain spreading until it went numb. I pushed her away with effort, and she rolled to the side. I struggled to sit up without saying a word, then swung my arm and slapped her hard across the face. The sharp crack rang out, and my own palm burned from how hard I had hit her. At that moment, Michael turned back and caught the final scene. "Lily?" His shout tore out of his throat, echoing through the backyard like thunder. He charged over like a madman and kicked me brutally without holding back, sending me flying several steps away, my back slamming into the railing. He dropped to his knees and pulled Lily into his arms as if she were his entire world. "Are you okay? Where does it hurt? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Lily trembled in his embrace, her voice weak, like someone who had just escaped disaster. "It hurts. It hurts so much." She hit me. She pointed at me, tears streaming down her face. Michael looked at me as if he wanted to burn me alive. "Emily, I will absolutely never forgive you this time. Just wait," I shouted back, my throat choking up. "Aren't you going to ask why I did it?" Tears spilled out uncontrollably, partly from the pain, partly because over the past 3 years, the person Michael had always trusted unconditionally had never been me. He didn't say another word. He simply bent down, picked Lily up, and walked away. After taking a few steps, he turned back and glanced at me from head to toe. "You're coming to the hospital too. If anything happens to my sister, I'll call the police." His voice was icy, so cold it pierced through skin and flesh and stabbed straight into my heart. My whole body burned with pain, especially my leg. When we fell, Lily's entire weight had slammed onto me, leaving one thigh numb with pain. My elbow was scraped open, blood still flowing. Anyone could tell that my condition was more serious, yet Michael was like a blind man. In his eyes, there was only one person, Lily. I forced myself to stand up despite the pain, draped my coat over my shoulders and silently followed them to the car. This time he drove even faster than before, nearly crashing into the median. As he drove, he panicked. "Don't fall asleep. We're almost at the hospital." He sounded as if she were on the brink of death. Lily played along well, clutching her stomach and groaning. "Michael, I feel dizzy. I don't think I'm okay." I sat in the back seat, silent, watching her, the same person who had just been secretly scrolling through her phone moments ago. At the hospital, after the blood draw and tests were done, Lily even turned to me and said weakly, "Emily, help me press the cotton pad tightly, okay?" I didn't respond, but I did as she asked. After pressing it down, I casually took the cotton pad and slipped it into my pocket. The test results came out quickly. Aside from mild anemia, she was completely fine. The fetus was developing well, with no signs of any abnormality. The moment he heard the words anemia, Michael's face turned pale, cold sweat breaking out across his forehead. "Anemia? How could that be?" "No, absolutely not. Lily has a rare blood type," Michael said urgently. "Emily, you also have a rare blood type. You can donate blood to her." As he spoke, he grabbed my hand and dragged me toward the doctor, almost issuing an order. "She can donate. Do it immediately. Start the transfusion for Lily right now." The doctor glanced at him and gave a cold, mocking smile. "We've already explained this. She only has mild anemia. Mild anemia during pregnancy is very common. There is absolutely no need for a blood transfusion." But Michael couldn't be bothered to listen to any explanation at all. "It must be done today. She's pregnant. If anything happens, who's going to take responsibility?" The doctor was about to continue persuading him when Michael pulled out his business card and tossed it straight onto the table. "This hospital has investment from my family. If you don't want to lose your job, prepare the transfusion immediately." All I wanted was to struggle free and get out of this place once and for all. Seeing that I had no intention of cooperating, the doctor sighed and looked at me with an imploring gaze. "You need to be clear about what you want." "I don't agree," I said. "My blood is not something anyone can take just because they want to." The moment I finished speaking, Michael's grip on my arm tightened even more. "Emily, you have to understand, Lily is pregnant. She can't afford any risk." I was shaking with anger, my whole body turning ice cold. "She can't be harmed, but I can? Am I not entitled to my own life?" My voice broke out of anger, pain, and despair. The man I had loved for 3 years in the end treated me like nothing more than a walking blood bank. Michael paused for a split second, but less than a second later, he still didn't let go. He even lowered his voice, coaxing me. "Be good, Emily. Just donate the blood. Tomorrow, I'll take you to register our marriage. Isn't that what you've always wanted?" This time I promise I won't go back on my word. I struggled in panic and screamed, let go of me." But he still held me tightly, even signaling for security to come and restrain me. In a frenzy, I pulled out my phone and called Ethan. Help me." I hadn't even heard his reply before someone slapped the phone out of my hand, sending it crashing to the floor. From the speaker, Ethan's voice still rang out. "Ethan, what's wrong? Where are you?" But the sound of footsteps, the chaos, and the shouting around me swallowed his voice in the turmoil. A group of people pinned me down and forced me into the blood draw room. I was completely restrained, unable to move. I had chronic anemia due to menstrual disorders and had been undergoing treatment for years without improvement. And the person who knew that best was none other than Michael. Yet he was the very first to drag me onto the injection bed. He had once taken me to see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, saying he was worried about my health. And yet, when faced with his sister, he could suddenly become blind, deaf, and mute all at once. In Michael's eyes, my health probably wasn't even worth a single strand of Lily's hair. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears poured down uncontrollably, like a dam bursting after a flood that had been building up for far too long. Watching the needle the nurse was preparing to pierce into my arm, I closed my eyes in despair. At that very moment, a rush of hurried footsteps thundered down the hallway. 7 or 8 people stormed into the room. A calm but ice-cold voice rang out. "Who gave you permission to touch my wife?" It was Ethan. He stepped forward without hesitation, pushed the nurse aside, and pulled me behind him, completely shielding me from the crowd. The entire room fell into dead silence. Michael stood frozen at the sight. He stepped forward angrily and shoved Ethan hard. "What did you just say? Who's your wife?" "The Thai is my girlfriend. Where are you taking her? Let go of her right now." He raised his hand intending to strike Ethan, but Ethan merely shifted slightly to the side and avoided it with an ease that sent a chill down the spine. His gaze never left me as he asked softly, "Thithi, who is it that wants to take your blood?" Ethan asked. I clenched my hand and raised it, pointing straight at Michael. The smile on Ethan's face vanished instantly, the gentleness dissipating, replaced by a gaze sharp as a blade. He tightened his fist and stared at Michael without the slightest restraint. Without saying another word, he swung a punch straight into his face. The dull crack of knuckles colliding with bone rang clearly through the breathless room. Michael staggered backward, and before he could react, he shouted hoarsely, "I'm taking blood from my own girlfriend. What does that have to do with you? This hospital is funded by my family. Who do you think you are, causing trouble here? Someone." He hadn't even finished calling out when a second punch came crashing down. Blood sprayed from his nose, splattering across his face. The security guards who had restrained me earlier immediately rushed forward to help, but Ethan's people followed close behind. 7 or 8 of them moved with ruthless efficiency, and within seconds the entire group of guards was taken down, none left standing. The guards outside heard the commotion and froze in place, not daring to step inside. Those 2 punches left Michael's eyes bloodshot, fury erupting as he finally abandoned all pretense of dignity. He roared like a wounded beast and lunged forward, trying to fight Ethan head-on, but before he could reach him, Ethan's men restrained him firmly. Ethan stepped around me, his gaze falling on my arm, covered in scratches and dried blood. He frowned and leaned toward the doctor. "Bandage her immediately. Use the best supplies you have." Then he bent down, softened his voice and asked me gently, "Emily, does anything else hurt?" That single gentle sentence was enough to make me break down completely. That kind concern was worlds apart from Michael's cold cruelty. The tears I had been holding back finally spilled over, streaming down uncontrollably. Ethan pulled me into his arms and held me tightly, as if embracing his entire world. "Don't be afraid, my wife. From now on, no one will ever bully you again." Michael collapsed into a chair, panting heavily, his eyes filled with suppressed fury as he stared at Ethan. "Emily is my girlfriend. Don't take this too far. As long as you don't touch her again, I can let what happened today slide." Ethan let out a soft laugh, utterly indifferent. "Your girlfriend? Emily is my wife. The one who should stay away from her is you." As he spoke, he tilted slightly and pulled the marriage certificate out from inside his suit jacket. He pressed a light kiss to it, then opened it and shoved it straight in front of Michael's face, like an invisible punch landing squarely on a man living in delusion. Not stopping there, Ethan quickly pulled it back and carefully tucked it into his pocket, as if afraid some madman might snatch away his treasure. Michael's eyes flew wide open, his whole body stiffening as shock froze him in place. After a long moment, he finally burst into laughter and shook his head. Ha! Stop joking. You dare wave a fake marriage certificate in front of me? Let me tell you, don't play such a ridiculous trick. This afternoon, I was even planning to take Emily to register our marriage. When I left the civil affairs office, she was so angry she was practically in tears because of me. She loves me that much. Where would she even find the time to go register with you? So he knew I was angry. He knew exactly how deeply I had loved him. He knew everything, yet he still abandoned me again and again, still left me waiting under the scorching sun. Waiting in front of the civil affairs office, waiting away my youth. Knowing all that, he still chose to be cruel. There was only one explanation: he had never loved me enough. Just then, the doctor standing nearby spoke hesitantly. So, do we still need to proceed with the blood transfusion for the pregnant patient? Michael said nothing. Ethan shot him a single glance, cold to the bone. The doctor immediately bowed his head and withdrew. Lily opened her mouth, clearly wanting to cut in, but then swallowed her words and didn't dare make a sound. At that moment, Michael turned to look at me, his gaze dark and heavy. Emily, you really want to register a marriage that badly? Fine. Tomorrow we'll go. When the time comes, we'll hold a real certificate and shove it in that guy's face until his eyes pop. As he spoke, he shot Ethan a venomous glance, his eyes full of resentment, as if he were still dreaming that I belonged to him. At the same time, he was waiting for my answer, just like every time before. Whenever he brought up marriage in the past, I was always the one who nodded happily first. But this time, I said nothing. A flicker of suspicion flashed through Michael's eyes. Ethan didn't even spare him a glance. He simply turned to me, his voice softening. Wife, let's go. Where do you want to go first? I suddenly remembered the blood-soaked cotton pad in my pocket. There was one place I absolutely had to go back to, his house. I want to get my things back. Michael's face instantly darkened. Damn it, who are you calling wife? She's my girlfriend. A storm surged in his eyes, like something that belonged to him was being snatched away right in front of him. He clenched his fist and took a step toward Ethan, but in the blink of an eye, as if realizing he was no match at all, his body stiffened and he silently pulled his hand back. Ethan didn't bother paying him any attention. He simply took my hand and left without hesitation. Michael stood where he was, watching us walk away hand in hand, his eyes filled with unwillingness. The very next second, he chased after us. Lily called out to him from behind, but he didn't turn back even once. When we arrived at Michael's house, he reached there as well. He stayed close at my side, his eyes constantly scanning my expression. His voice urgent. Emily, you're using Ethan as a shield, right? Just because I didn't register with you today, you're deliberately trying to provoke me, aren't you? I didn't respond. He seemed to take my silence as hesitation, and suddenly made up his mind, reaching out to grab me. Tomorrow we'll go register, okay? I swear, this time there won't be anything else getting in the way. The moment his hand touched me, Ethan stepped forward and slapped his hand away. Say what you need to say quickly. Don't touch my wife. Michael pressed his lips together, his chest heaving as he struggled to suppress the anger surging inside him. I stopped looking at him, turned around, and began packing my belongings, stuffing them into a suitcase, one by one. When I opened the wardrobe, my hand suddenly froze. The sexy nightgown I had bought had been torn out of its packaging. I just bought this. Who gave you permission to open it? Michael replied casually. Wasn't it something you've already worn? If you're going to wear it, of course you have to open the package. I frowned. When did I ever wear it? That outfit was something I had deliberately saved for our wedding night, planned long ago, back when I still believed I would marry him. He fell silent for a moment, then muttered, 3 months ago, that night with the heavy rain. I was drunk. You wore that dress and were with me. Halfway through the sentence, his voice caught in his throat, his pupils shrinking slightly, as if he had suddenly remembered something terrifying. I looked at him coldly, each word enunciated clearly. That night, I tried to stop you from drinking. You didn't listen, and I got angry, so you slept in the living room. I slept there the whole night. When was I ever with you? The air grew thick and oppressive. I, too, began to recall vague details I had once overlooked. I didn't say anything more. Perhaps something in Michael's heart had just been pierced straight through. He staggered and collapsed onto the floor, his eyes hollow and unfocused. Ethan sat down on the sofa, pretending to play with his phone. A comedy video was playing on the screen, and bursts of laughter rang out at a steady rhythm. But I knew he was only pretending, deliberately acting as if he hadn't heard anything at all. I quickly gathered the rest of my belongings and stuffed them into the suitcase, then casually grabbed Michael's toothbrush as well, the gesture decisive and cold at the same time. When I went downstairs, it happened to be just as Lily returned. She saw me and let out a cold, mocking snort, the corner of her mouth lifting in contempt, her gaze carrying the look of someone who believed she was the final victor. But in the very next second, that look froze solid when Ethan walked over. Without hiding the disgust in his eyes, he didn't say a word and simply swept me up in his arms right there in the middle of the grand hall. He spun me around quickly, my skirt lifting lightly with his strong, confident steps. He lowered his head and kissed me on the lips in front of Lily's stunned gaze. "Wife, I finally married you. I'm so happy." Even though we were already legally married, Ethan didn't skip a single ritual. His proposal, the engagement, the wedding ceremony, every step was prepared in a rush, yet with meticulous care, making sure I lacked nothing. The next day, I received the DNA test results showing a match. I took a photo of the report and sent it to Michael. On the other side of the screen, he kept typing and deleting over and over, yet no message ever came through. What could he possibly say now? An apology? An "I didn't know"? Or a belated plea? Whatever it was, it no longer had anything to do with me. He had accused me of making false claims with his own mouth, yet in the end, it was his own sister who ended up pregnant with his biological child. I sat at my desk, my heart heavy. The more I thought about their relationship, the more I felt that over the past 3 years, I had been nothing more than a third party, intruding into a relationship that had been secretly legitimized under the guise of adoptive siblings. I raised my coffee to my lips, hoping its bitterness could drown out the bitterness in my heart. Just then, the office door was pushed open and Michael walked in, his expression dark, his eyes murky, as if he were desperately suppressing a raging storm. The moment he saw me, he dropped to one knee on the floor and wrapped his arms tightly around my leg. "Emily, I really didn't know. Only now do I remember what happened that night 3 months ago. I was drunk. Lily was wearing the dress you bought, and she even covered her face with a towel. I thought it was you, that's why." His voice was hoarse and broken. "She never said she liked me. I only just considered that possibility. I truly never expected the child to be mine. I've been good to Lily only because we grew up close since childhood. In my heart, she was always just my sister." Tears began streaming down his face, his voice trembling. "I'll make her get an abortion, Emily. Don't worry, you used Ethan to make me jealous, didn't you? Lily told me everything last night about how Ethan picked you up and spun you around downstairs, even kissed you. I was furious, completely out of my mind, but now I forgive you. Don't be angry anymore, okay?" He looked at me with pleading eyes, as if I were still the girl who had once loved him with her whole heart. Right after that, he pulled out his ID card from his pocket, his voice hurried. "Let's go register right now. This time, nothing will stop us anymore. I promise I'll never abandon you again." As he spoke, he grabbed my hand and tried to pull me along. I yanked my hand back and curved my lips into a faint smile. "I already registered. Didn't I tell you yesterday?" Michael's eyes immediately flashed with panic, but he still tried to keep his composure. "That certificate Ethan showed yesterday was fake, right?" I lifted my lips in a mocking smile. "Issued by the Civil Affairs Office, stamped in red, 100% authentic." Michael stood there as if turned to stone, his face drained of all color, like someone who had just woken from a dream. Then, after a few seconds of stunned silence, he suddenly roared, "How could you do this? You're my girlfriend. How could you go and register with someone else?" He was shaking with rage. His brows knit tightly together, and even his voice began to tremble. "Do I still count you as my girlfriend?" I said coldly. "Every single day, you're glued to your sister. To outsiders, the two of you look like a couple. The moment I mentioned the word sister, his momentum instantly deflated. In everyone else's eyes, I was the third party intruding between the two of them. Even the house that was supposed to be our marital home had a separate room set aside just for her. Every time you bought gifts, you bought hers first, and I only ever got the free add-on. Was it that I didn't deserve good things, that I was only fit to use promotional items? Or was it that you were only willing to spend money on her, while with me, you pinched every penny? If I had truly mattered to you, you wouldn't have treated me like this. Do you even know how many times we went to register our marriage and failed? I raised my index finger and bent it down once. 9 times. A full 9 times. People say never more than 3 tries, but you abandoned me 9 times. If it weren't for my tolerance, I would have left long ago. But no matter how much one endures, it's impossible to keep putting up forever with your coldness and contempt. I'm the eldest daughter of the Ning family, not someone no one wants. Why should I tie myself to a rotten, decayed tree like you? With every word I spoke, Michael's face went from flushed red to deathly pale. He stammered, his voice weakening. Emily, why are you holding grudges like this? It was clearly his fault, yet now he was blaming me for remembering too well. I laughed out loud, the bitterness of it cutting straight through my heart. People remember because they were hurt. No one harbors resentment without first being wounded. I'm not a magnanimous person. If you like someone magnanimous, then go marry her. Or better yet, just marry your sister outright. She schemed every possible way to get pregnant with your child. She's gotten exactly what she wanted. At least that way, you won't keep hurting anyone else. The moment I mentioned Lily's pregnancy, Michael's face darkened instantly, but he still tried to keep his tone gentle, familiar. Emily, you're being impulsive again. I came here to marry you, and you keep pushing me away. That single sentence dragged countless past wounds back to the surface. He had always been like this. Every time I spoke the truth that made him uncomfortable, he would start manipulating my emotions, calling me hot-tempered, impatient, not generous enough, unfit to be a good wife or daughter-in-law. All of it was nothing more than an excuse to cover up his selfishness and betrayal. Every word he had said had quietly eroded my self-respect over the past 3 years. I turned my face away, unwilling to look at him for another second. Emily, you love me so much, I know that, he said urgently. Marrying Ethan was just to make me angry, right? Be good. Divorce him. After the divorce, we'll go register that very day, okay? Even now, he still dared to be this confident. I curled my lips, my voice icy. Stop standing here making me sick. Get lost. Even if I didn't marry Ethan, I would marry someone else. Even if you were the last man left in this world, I would never register with you. He was about to say more when his phone rang. I stood there silently while he answered, his voice suddenly harsh. You've got a stomachache. What does that have to do with me? Go get an abortion. The Lamb family has no place for you. After hanging up, he immediately turned back to me, forcing a look of sincerity onto his face. See? That's how I treat her. She deliberately got pregnant to trap me. It's not my fault. Emily, give me one more chance, okay? To her, he was cold as ice. To me, he lowered his head and begged, soft and pleading. But I no longer cared about any of it. While he was still talking, I pressed the call button for security. From now on, this man is not allowed to step into this company ever again, I said flatly, not blinking once as security dragged him out. Michael still struggled unwillingly. Let me pursue you again from the beginning. I'll accept anything, he said. I thought I had made myself clear enough that he would know to let go. But no. Every morning without fail, he stood right in front of the company gate, holding a huge bouquet of flowers and waiting for me. The more clearly I rejected him, the more stubbornly he clung on. There was even a time when I went shopping, and he secretly followed from a distance. Another day, when I went out to eat with Ethan, the moment we stepped out of the restaurant, I saw him already standing at the entrance. As soon as he saw me, his eyes lit up instantly, as if an entire starry sky had fallen into them. Emily, today is our 3-year anniversary, he said. I came to give you a gift. He held out a box, jewelry packaging from a famous luxury brand. I looked at Michael as if I were watching a farce. We ended a long time ago. What anniversary is there to talk about? Are you really so idle that you have nothing better to do? But he acted as if he hadn't heard a word, still stubbornly holding the gift box out in front of me. Open it and take a look. You'll definitely like it. Ethan finally couldn't stand it anymore and reached out, knocking the box hard to the ground. Michael, haven't you acted enough? He said coldly. Back then, when I was pursuing Emily, she only liked you, so I stepped aside. Now she's my wife, and you still won't give up. What exactly do you want? The box fell open, and the necklace inside rolled out. It was the exact style I used to love. No wonder he had been so insistent that I open it. I let out a scoff. My tastes can change too. When I still liked you, you never gave it to me. Now that I don't like you anymore, even if you give it to me, it's meaningless. Ethan pulled me into his arms, his voice calm but firm. Do you think my wife has never been given gifts? Over the past few days, I've given her more than you did in all 3 years combined. Michael's face instantly darkened, as if all the color had been drained from him. But Emily, you loved me so much. How could you change so quickly? I don't believe it. I don't believe it, he said, clutching his head, his expression twisted in pain. Just then, Lily suddenly rushed out from who knew where. Michael, what's wrong with you? When she saw me standing next to Ethan, the jealousy in her eyes was impossible to hide. A fickle woman like Emily, leaving her was the right choice. Come back to me. As she spoke, she reached out to grab Michael's hand, but he shoved her hand away forcefully. Stay away from me. If you hadn't set this trap, Emily wouldn't have left me. You're my adoptive sister, don't you understand that? You have no shame, but I do. Lily hadn't expected something so private to be exposed in public like that. Her face instantly turned pale with humiliation. Still, she tried to argue. We're not blood-related. Don't talk nonsense. Michael glared at her, his eyes bloodshot. You planned this from the very beginning, didn't you? I didn't know which part of that exchange had accidentally sparked the crowd's curiosity, but more and more people began to gather. Whispers rose around us. Isn't that the heir of the Lamb family? The eldest son of Lamb Group? That woman next to him, she's pregnant, right? She seems to be part of the Lamb family too. My God, what did I just hear? Some people were so eager they even told others to keep quiet so they could hear more clearly. The crowd grew larger by the second. When Lily realized people were starting to recognize her, she panicked and tried to pull Michael away. As for me, from beginning to end, I felt nothing but disgust at his relentless persistence. If I didn't cut things off cleanly, he would never let go. I took a deep breath and spoke decisively. Michael, you always claim to be a gentleman. But if you're a gentleman, you should be clear and straightforward. I'm already someone else's wife. I don't want to be disturbed by you ever again. I hope from now on you stop following me. The more you cling to me, the more despicable you look. Before Michael could even react, Lily could no longer hold it in. Who do you think you are that he would need to follow you around? Lily sneered. The Lamb family is that rich. Do you really think they can't live without you? You hadn't even broken up yet, and you were already rushing to throw yourself into another man's arms. A woman like you, none of us can even be bothered to look at you. She was about to continue when a sharp slap rang out, loud and unmistakable. Michael suddenly swung his hand and slapped her across the face. Since when do you have the right to speak here? He snapped coldly. Don't forget, you're just an adopted daughter of the Lamb family. My business is not for you to interfere in. The slap sent Lily stumbling back several steps. Her face instantly flushed red. She clutched her cheek, her eyes filled with shock and humiliation. You dared to hit me, Michael? Her voice trembled with emotion. But Michael showed no mercy at all. His gaze burned with fury as he stared at her. So what if I hit you? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost Emily. You're a jinx, a walking disaster. It'd be best if I never had to see your face again. With that, he pulled out his phone and issued a cold command to have Lily taken to the hospital for an abortion. Today, immediately, someone was to come and get her. Lily's face turned deathly pale at once, her lips trembling in panic. No, Michael. This is our child. I know I was wrong, but the baby is innocent. Don't treat it like this. As she spoke, Lily retreated in terror, turning as if to run, but Michael grabbed her before she could escape. Within moments, the people he had called arrived and dragged Lily away. Amid that chaos, Ethan and I didn't say another word. We quietly left. Later, I heard that Lily had been forcibly taken for an abortion that very day. The Lamb family, afraid of the scandal spreading, didn't even leave a single person behind to care for her. In the days that followed, Michael no longer appeared around me until my wedding day. But Ethan had long since prepared for the possibility that Michael might come to cause trouble, so he arranged for extra security. To everyone's surprise, however, Michael didn't show up at all that day. Instead, he started a live stream online, attempting suicide. I later watched the recording. In the video, Michael said, "Once, I had a very beautiful girl. Heaven sent her to me. She stayed by my side for 3 years, but I didn't know how to cherish her. Only after losing her did I regret it to the extreme. In this world, there is probably no pain greater than this. If heaven were to give me a second chance, I would tell her, 'I truly love you.' But today is her wedding day. I know that from now on, I will never again have the chance to hold her in my arms. A life like this, what meaning does it still have for me? I want to leave this world. I wish her a happy marriage and a lifetime of peace." After saying those words, he attempted suicide. I heard that someone reported it to the police right away. They traced his location quickly, but they were still one step too late. When they found him, he had already carried it out. Although he was rushed to the hospital in time and his life was saved, he was left with permanent aftereffects. His speech became unclear, his reactions sluggish, like someone suffering from early-onset dementia. His parents called me many times, hoping I would go visit him at least once, but I refused every time. Later, I received a message from him. "Emily, I'm sorry. I once thought that no matter what happened, you would never leave me, so I didn't know how to cherish your feelings. That's why I hurt you again and again. But heaven is fair. In the end, it still punished me. You must have seen the news by now." Knowing what he looks like now, someone like him doesn't even dare to look straight at himself in the mirror. A person like that has even less right to appear in front of me. But he said he would use the rest of his life to wish me well, and also hoped that I could let go of my resentment and send him one sincere blessing. I didn't reply. Every adult has the right to make their own choices, and they must also bear the consequences of those choices themselves. Whether one is happy or not has never depended on blessings from others, but has always been held firmly in one's own hands. All I need to do is live my life well. As for everything else, it no longer has anything to do with me.